On today's episode, we start with the hard stuff.
She said, when I have a cold, my parents know to give me cold medicine. When I skin my knee, my parents know to put a Band-Aid on it. I had a panic attack and my parents didn't know how to help me, and that scared me. And they were scared, and that scared me more.
And then we get to end with the fun stuff.
That's the thing I do when I need to clear my mind. I just sit and I watch my show and I bake. And I don't want anyone else baking with me. And I bake by myself. And whenever I always bake a recipe from here. And I think of Grandma when I bake them, because she's the one who taught me how to bake them.
From the blog Random Sweets, I'm your host, Stacy Mergenthal, and this is Funeral Potatoes and Wool Mittens, a show for people who embrace the warm and cozy spirit of everyday living in the Midwest. Thank you for being with me for Anna's and Kristin's stories today. Everyday living, the highs and the lows of everyday life, is exactly what today's show is all about. You might cry, laugh, cry again, and then even laugh out loud. So tuck a few Kleenexes, or if you're in your car, fast food napkins, into your sleeve, and let me give you just a quick rundown of this episode before they join us. In the first half of the show, Kristin and Anna share their personal story about how Anna's panic attack at a well child check in 2020, when she was just 11 years old, turned into a debilitating panic disorder within 2 weeks. Counseling was booked months out, and their daughter was in a crisis. Now, although this is hard for Anna to talk about it, she and her mom bravely and candidly tell their story with the purpose of changing and opening the current conversation and advocacy, or the lack thereof, around youth mental health with parents, children, medical and mental health professionals, the community, really anyone who can help make change. Anna is remarkably courageous. She's wiser than any of us when it comes to accepting people where they're at. She and her mom continue to advocate for youth mental health initiatives. This journey led Kristin to write and publish her book titled Finding Us, a mother's memoir of braving mental illness with her young daughter, along with opening her boutique in Lake Elmo, Minnesota called La Vie Belle, which then in turn, she donates a percentage of net profits to pediatric mental health initiatives. Now, I met Kristin in 2022 when I wrote their story for Woodbury Magazine, and we've kept in touch. I've learned that there's a long line of bakers in this family, Anna and Kristin being two of them, and Kristin's mom, Lynn Johnson Roman, has taken it up a level by publishing 2 family cookbooks. So naturally, we thought it'd be fun to talk about some of their cherished family recipes like turtle cake, chocolate chip shortbread bars, and cinnamon rolls. So be sure to read Lynn's dedication to her mom, Eileen Klinkhammer Johnson, that she wrote in the cookbook, which is pictured on my website, randomsweets.com. And you'll also see photos of their family and a few more of their family recipes there as well. Thank you, Kristin and Anna, for sharing those with us too. If you are short on time while you're listening and you pause this episode, I totally get it, but I strongly encourage that you come back and listen to this episode all the way to the end. It's very special. And a reminder, this episode is not intended to be medical or mental health advice. Kristin and Anna Rehkamp, welcome to Funeral Potatoes and Wool Mittens. It's really a joy to be here with you both today.
Thanks, Stacy. We're so glad to be here.
This is like the best recording setting ever.
I guess Star will do that with twinkle lights.
Right. We're at La Vie Belle in Lake Elmo, Minnesota. And we'll talk about this place and how everything happened that you opened this store and switched careers in just a few minutes. But Kristin, you and I, we met back in, I think it was early 2022, because I was writing an article for Woodbury Magazine that went out in August that year about your boutique and the book that you were in the process of writing. At the time we published that article, you hadn't finished the book, or you were writing, I think you were writing the introduction of the book and it was ready to go to print. So things have changed even since we met for the better, and things are a little bit more positive. You have some good things to talk about today too, but you've had really a hard journey, and Anna has too. And so We're just going to talk a little bit about the mental health emergency that eventually led you to opening a boutique and writing a book. And that book is titled Finding Us, a mother's memoir of braving mental illness with her young daughter. And so we have Anna, the young daughter, today. So your story just has really stuck with me. And you and I, Kristin, we've sort of kept in touch over the last year and a half and talked about doing a podcast and about the mental health journey and advocacy that you both do now. But also I learned that you're a family of bakers. The women are.
We are.
So
yeah.
It's a perfect time to talk about some important things and resources for mental health. But then also we're going to talk about food and baking.
We got to talk about food.
Yeah.
So, well, Stacey, again, I thank you. You were one of the first writers to help us tell our story. And I do remember our first phone call, and you were so understanding and appreciative. And I'm just grateful for the friendship for the last year.
Thank you.
All right, so I'll jump in. Anna and I have a fun eye contact thing here when she's ready to speak. So September 16th, was that it? September 16th, 2020. Anna was reminding me the other day. Anna was at a well child check when she was 11 and had a panic attack out of some apprehension and fear around some vaccinations. And that panic attack looked like or felt like hands and legs tingling. She was really upset, started drinking a lot of water, and my husband and I didn't know what was going on. And in a positive light, we were in a medical facility, but even they, all hands were on deck to try and calm Anna down. And within 15 minutes, she calmed down, was able to take the vaccines, and everything was fine. But then the next day she had another panic attack, and the next day she had another panic attack, and her body then went into this pretty quick, fear of having a panic attack that became this debilitating panic disorder within 2 weeks. After just 1 week of her first panic attack, she was admitted via ER. We went to the ER at Children's in St. Paul, and they told us she needed counseling. And we went home and we tried to tee up some counseling, and we were months out, and our child was in crisis. And I remember at that moment that here my husband and I, who have been working corporate our whole lives, college educated, never really have hit significant roadblocks in our life, cannot find our daughter care fast enough. And I remember this really humbling moment of we had to call somebody that we knew had a lot of additional financial means, authority, and power, and ask them a favor to get our daughter a counseling appointment within a week. And that said individual was able to do that. I'll forever be so grateful. But it still wasn't enough, fast enough, and Anna ended up back in the ER a second time and deemed unsafe to come home. And to paint a picture for other individuals or parents out there, because she was unsafe, she was under 24-hour surveillance in the hospital. She was being held, so she wasn't being diagnosed or treated. We were waiting for a mental health bed for any children's facility that could take her. It could have been in Minnesota, it could have been in the Dakotas, it could have been Wisconsin, honestly anywhere. And we sat and we waited. Now they did give her now we're 3 years later, so I can't even remember all the medications, but they were giving her a variety of different medications my husband and I had never heard of to try and calm her anxiety and her panic disorder. But for an 11-year-old, 80-pound girl who's never, ever really had any physical or mental trauma in her life, to be taking some of these medications, I think was hard in and of itself, and creating physical sensations and feelings that she wasn't used to. Mm-hmm. So here we are trying to, I think, help her, or the team was trying to help her, while at the same time creating fear and physical symptoms and feelings that she wasn't used to. So I just remember as a parent for 7 days waiting in this hospital, hoping and praying that we would get her admitted to a mental health hospital, and not even really understanding what that meant. Mm-hmm. My family has never been in we haven't had exposure to that. And I remember it was a Sunday night. She got admitted on a Monday and was transferred by ambulance. But I remember a Sunday night, she was really dysregulated. But I'd ask anyone in the audience or anyone who might be listening to this podcast, if you're an individual that has never had any sort of physical or mental trauma in your life, and you're suddenly under 24-hour surveillance in a hospital, being asked or forced in some cases to take medications that aren't making you feel good and you don't understand, would you not also be afraid? Would you not also be fighting back? Would you not also be a bit in a panic? Mm-hmm. But I remember the nurse and the care team taking us outside Anna's room at one point and saying, at this point, she's so dysregulated, we're thinking we need to restrain her or sedate her. And I said, help me understand what restraint looks like. Well, we have two bodyguards or I don't know, police personnel downstairs, we would have them come up and help us restrain her. I'm like, she's 80 pounds and
11 years old.
And 11 years old and still believes in Santa Claus. Like, so I said, no, you will not do either one of those things. And I don't remember how that resolved itself that evening, but thankfully she was admitted the next day. And I say thankfully because at that time I needed that. But also that was a tough transition from the hospital to the mental health hospital. She went by ambulance. We couldn't go with her. She was received via a back door for all intake, and my husband and I walked through the front guest lobby. So here again is an 80-pound girl who doesn't understand what's going on. Her body is feeling dysregulated. She's afraid. If anyone out there doesn't understand what a panic attack looks or feels like, and I'm new to this in the last 3 years myself, but it looks and feels like a heart attack. So the reasons you might be experiencing a panic attack might be caused by anxiety or other stressors. So the actual what's pushing you into the panic attack might be different than a heart attack, right? Heart attack is happening because you have some sort of physical condition that's causing your heart to have trauma. Where a panic attack looks and feels the same way with the same symptoms. It's just what's causing it is different. So, but how do you explain to somebody who can't breathe, who feels pressure on their chest, who is feeling heat enough that they might be taking off their clothes or their arms and legs are tingling, life doesn't feel real, unable to speak, having some physical symptoms that almost look like seizures. You can't tell them they're okay. Right? And so anyway, here's a kiddo that's had all this happen to her in 2 weeks, who's now being admitted into this hospital, and she doesn't know where her parents are. Mm-hmm. She's there by herself. She's being asked to change her scrubs with people she doesn't know. And my husband and I are coming through the front door, and I remember one of the first things that was said to us is, your daughter's pretty upset. We now understand why she's here. And I remember thinking, meaning we see why she's here from a mental health perspective. And I remember stopping and saying, wouldn't you also be terrified if you were in this facility by yourself in a room you don't recognize without somebody you know? Mm-hmm. And they escorted my husband and I independently. We could not see Anna together at the time. It was COVID, so it was a safety measure. But I remember going through a metal detector and going up the elevator with a security guard and to the 4th floor, down to the door on the end on the right. And it was locked. And they unlocked the door, and I find my daughter by herself in her scrubs, crying in a ball at the end of her bed. The windows are frosted. The bed is very small with a sheet. There's a breakaway door on the bathroom. The walls are cedar block. The floors are hard. Now, I want to make sure that people understand that this facility is beautiful for what it is. It's an organization that I'll forever be grateful for, but it is a hard situation for a parent to walk into and see and experience. And I remember going, oh my gosh, what did I just do? And yet I didn't have control over the situation. And I just remember looking at Anna and say, I love you. I have to go find your father. And Tom came up and said goodbye to Anna, and we were asked to leave. And we went to Target and bought $300 worth of every fluffy, stuffy thing we could find and dropped it off with a security guard with a note that told her that we loved her. And that was it. And then we could see her every day for the next 2 weeks. So I ask anyone out there who might be listening to this, if you have a child that is either struggling physically or mentally with a condition they don't understand, did not choose, and you put them in that setting, how is that going to be okay? So,
and as a parent, driving away, knowing that your daughter is there, yes, she's safe, and
you're grateful for that.
Right.
You're grateful for that. And I want everyone again to hear from me that we are extremely grateful for every person and team that helped us, because everyone is trying to do their highest and best. Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that I want to talk about in this podcast is just how do we do it better?
Right. And
making sure that we understand, like physical health, there's also varying degrees of mental health. And 3 years later, again, through all my appreciation and gratitude, and it's hard to know how the book would end or be written without these experiences, meaning maybe that keeping Anna safe did keep her alive. I don't know. I don't actually believe, though, that Anna was ever in jeopardy of her life. Anna didn't feel well, and any indication that she might have said or did that said, I want to end my life, which she There was a moment, but it was more a call for help. It wasn't, I want to end my life. And I think these are things that as adults and parents and caregivers that we got to make sure we're really careful with, because there's a difference between somebody help me because I don't feel good and I don't know what else to say or do to get your attention, and a kiddo that truly wants to end their life. And I get how we have to be careful with both. And you certainly want to side probably on the cautionary side. I get that. But I just, at the end of the day, Anna we all have anxiety. It is a natural human tendency. I think we just, again, need to make sure we continue to learn. We need to share conversations. I hope the medical community is doing the same, and I know they are. But just like physical health, there's varying degrees of healthy and varying degrees of sickness. I'm not convinced today that anxiety requires the level of treatment and or medications that Anna received over the course of the last 3 years. We can talk more about that.
Yeah, I was saying that in your book, there's a section or a chapter that is about 18 months worth of the treatment, most of it being medication. And it was a lot of medication, and it was a lot of switching, which you said was that in itself is a bad thing, going from certain medications and switching. So if you want to talk at all about the medications.
I think for us, Anna didn't have any precursor or any indicators of anxiety prior to this panic attack. And now reflecting back, maybe she did and I wasn't paying attention. But nothing significant. I will still say to this day, nothing significant enough that would have alarmed me into she needs counseling or she needs support. And so with Anna's situation, it was so severe and so significant in such a short period of time, we literally felt like we were in a car accident. I mean, that's how fast life changed for us. And so I think part of that for the care providers, the medical teams, and Tom and I, there had to be a reason, right? There had to be a reason. And so, and I'll come back to that because there really wasn't a reason. I'll come back to that. There was a reason, but not maybe the reason we were trying to find. But you wonder, was it the vaccines? Is there something else physically going on with her body? Is it a thyroid? Is it diabetes? Does she have Lyme's? These are all things we were asked, and all the testing.
I remember I got my blood drawn 12 times that year in 3 MRIs, and I had never ever had an MRI or my blood drawn.
Yeah, just copious amounts of poking and prodding and MRIs. And looking back to any parent who's either lived this or might be living it right now, you can't help yourself but to try and want to find a solution, right? Why? How do we fix it? And it took... So again, imagine this kiddo who is experiencing anxiety for really the most significant first time of her life. And suddenly this kid is having copious amounts of blood draws and MRIs and all these things she's never experienced in her life, medications. And I guess the hardest thing for Tom and I to accept, and it's a journey and I watch other parents on the same journey, is accepting is a big piece of it, right? It just is. Anxiety is a natural human tendency. And for an 11-year-old girl, and I think it's happening to a lot of kiddos at that early middle school age right now, especially girls. And my philosophy on it is the world is just hard. The world is tougher and it's harder. And we've just put a lot of straws on the camel's back. And in 2020, we had COVID. We had a lot of social unrest. We had a lot of political stuff going on. We had kids that are used to going to school in person are suddenly going online. And so for Anna, really at the end of the day, having a vaccine that she was nervous about. Now, again, we vaccinate our kids. It wasn't like we sprung this on her and it was a new thing. But I think it was just one thing on the top of another. And eventually she just had a moment, right? We all have moments. Stacey and I were just talking about that we could have anxiety going to lunch in a few minutes because somebody is driving slow in front of us. I don't know. I'm making it up. But I think it's happening a lot with especially girls because I think girls feel in a bigger way and they're just feeling the world in a bigger way.
Do you think social media or anything like that? Anna, you could answer that question. Does that play a part in it?
Yeah. People, like girls, judge themselves based on other people's perceptions and opinions on social media. And these girls are going on social media at really early ages when their bodies are changing and other things are changing. And I don't think it's good for them to see these like skinny models on there and judge themselves based off of that. I had also just moved. We had just moved when it happened. And I got really badly bullied in 5th grade. And then it was COVID. And then it was middle school. And I was like, okay, it's a fresh start. But also I didn't want to go back because I was so badly harassed and bullied.
So I think a lot of what's going on with especially girls, especially at that 9, 10, 11, 12 age right now, is just a lot of what's going on, a reflection of what's going on in our society and social media. And so I think what's good, again, Stacey and I were talking prior to this podcast around, I am not an expert, right? So I am not here to share medical advice or any stuff. Please don't take it. Right. But what I'm just sharing what I've learned as a parent. And again, I think that we need some more proactive conversations ahead of these ages with girls as parents and as kiddos around what this is going to look like and feel like and what are healthy coping mechanisms. And I do believe that might be starting, but I don't believe that the reactive approach around hospitalizations and medications and testing is the right approach. Now, for different varying degrees of mental health, absolutely, just like physical health, right? But I'm not sure that anxiety is warranting hospitalization and medications and all the poking and prodding and testing. But again, as parents, you're going to look for every solution or possibility that you possibly can find. And I wish in some ways somebody had just had a different conversation with us earlier.
What kind of conversation? Because as a parent, and Anna, you were experiencing physical symptoms, things were happening physically. So as a parent, Kristin, you're trying to help and you think the medical system is what is going to help. So what different kind of conversation might have that been? Did you want to share?
You passed the subject again.
Okay, we'll go back. What was it?
We keep coming back. We can do whatever we want to.
What do you want to say?
I said because you guys took me immediately to the hospital in the ER and we were always there. It created like a trauma for me to be there, so I couldn't go in to places that reminded me of the hospital or different hospitals, or like because the psychiatrist would give me so many medications, I would be afraid to take new medications, which created more trauma in that.
So what she's saying too is that, or in summary, is as a parent, once this all started with the ER, follow-up counseling and/or any doctor appointments and/or school, any institution was extremely difficult for Anna. It was a trigger for her. So Anna didn't go to school as a 6th grader. She barely went to school as a 7th grader. We did 8th grade online, and now for the first time in 3 years, Anna's back at school as a freshman and doing amazing, by the way. But I think what I wish what I had known going into Anna's panic attacks that first week, I wish I could have looked at my daughter and said, honey, what you're feeling is very real. It is not unusual. Many, many, many people have panic attacks. What I need you to do is go take a bath. What I need you to do is go take a walk. Here's how honey, I understand what a panic attack is, just like I understand what a cold is. And meaning our daughter said something at a Blue Cross Blue Shield conversation a few months ago that has stuck with me. And she said that, do you want to share? Or I'll share it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So she said, when I have a cold, my parents know to give me cold medicine. When I skin my knee, my parents know to put a Band-Aid on it. I had a panic attack and my parents didn't know how to help me, and that scared me. And they were scared, and that scared me more. And so I wish instead of maybe running her to the ER, and again, I don't want, if your child is in trauma or you need assistance, go to I'm not telling people to not do that. I'm just saying that I wish I could have made it not so scary and understood how to help her in that situation. Because sometimes I wonder if we could have approached that panic attack, those early panic attacks earlier, would it have become a debilitating disorder? Because from what I understand about a panic disorder and watching Anna is it was having one panic attack and then another one and then another one and then another one, that the body became just completely debilitated and dysregulated, that it literally took months, years for her body to re-regulate.
Yeah. I would wake up in them. So I would have to start sleeping with you because I would be scared.
So yeah, Anna became so dysregulated that her panic attacks would last all day. or she might have 8 a day. So she's right. For many months, I used to sleep with her because it wasn't even about keeping her safe when she'd have a panic attack. It just made her more comfortable to try and avoid a panic attack.
Mm-hmm. When we talk about when these things happen and making it more a conversation, like you have a cold, I know what to do, I know what to ask for, that type of thing, how to help. And from personal experience, I know that when your children are experiencing things that put them in a mental institution or into counseling, there's shame around it. And you don't tell your friends, and you don't tell their schoolmates, you don't tell their friends' parents, you don't tell anyone, because there's something that people, for some reason, it's I just want to talk about how do we get past that, so that, I mean, if my kid was diagnosed with cancer and in the hospital, I would tell everybody, and I would need their support and their prayers. Why don't we do that with situations like this?
You asked me, yesterday, why I don't like to talk about it. And I said, Mom, if you were a teenage girl and went to public school and told people about this, how do you think teenagers, in this day, would act? They would think I'm crazy. They would not understand. They would not get it. They would tease me and bully me, and they have before. People have made fun of me before because I would tell them about it, and so I stopped. I stopped talking about it.
So it's interesting. Anna and I are actually truly having this conversation. It started yesterday. So I think as an adult woman, her mom, we saw some of this early on when she was 11, when we wanted to share her story. And we were advised by a partner in helping us share the story that we should protect Anna and not share the story. And I fully understand what they were saying. But at the same time, as a mom and maybe a woman, I want Anna to be really proud of who she is and not ashamed of who she is. And yet this is really hard. I get it, right? So we as a family continue to have the dialogue around if and should we continue to share the story. And honestly, Anna and I I just started this conversation again yesterday, and I don't necessarily have the right answer, other than obviously I need to respect my daughter's feelings. But as a mom, my question will always be, or a comment will always be, you are amazing and you need to be proud of who you are. But in Anna's defense, that does not quiet down the 14 and 15-year-olds at school that are making fun of her, or any other adult that might approach her differently. And so I think that this will be a continuing journey for our family and for us to navigate. Do you want to say something?
I've had different reactions from people when I've told them. Some of them start acting like I have a disability, like a physical disability, which is weird to me because I'm standing there and they're like, do you need to get out of the class? Do you need to, and I'm like, I'm good, right? That's not what I was, okay. Others have bullied me, made fun of it. There was this kid at my school in 8th grade, and he just kept talking about it and vocally yelling about it to people in my class. And he's like, you're that girl who's the crybaby. You were in the bathroom crying. You're the crybaby. And I got up and I called my mom and I asked her to take me home because I couldn't handle it anymore. And it's just...
What I think is interesting, right, is as adults, so again, what I just said is I could have some sort of anxious road rage moment on the way to lunch. Nobody would think anything differently of me in that moment. It's anxiety. She might have anxiety over a test tomorrow, but because of her past and history, might be treated differently. It's really dumbfounding to me, honestly, as a parent, that we might treat individuals with any condition differently, because it's not a condition they choose. And many of us probably also experience it. It's just varying degrees, right? But again, I think this is a hard one for Anna and I to navigate, and we will continue talking and navigating it. Did you want to share more?
Yeah, it just got to a point where I decided I wasn't going to talk about it anymore because I was so fed up with all the reactions that I was getting. And so there's people that you can pass by and you would have no idea that they went through some of the hardest things a person can go through with mental health and anxiety. You would not know because they don't tell people. but they're fine. Like, they're okay. They're people. So, like, when I have told people now, when I'm better, they think it's a joke. They don't believe it. And I'm like, I just don't tell people, because I just couldn't handle their reactions anymore.
Yeah, so again, I'm trying to get it out. But again, as a mom and a woman, I just want to teach my child to be so proud of who she is. Mm-hmm. And I want her to show people how amazing every individual, every kid is, despite whatever it is that they might be challenged with, because we all have our challenges. Nobody has a perfect life.
Nobody.
Nobody. So this is a hard one for Anna and I to navigate, because I fully respect her feelings and I totally appreciate it, because it's real. Yep. What she's saying is real. She gets bullied or teased. At the same time, I don't necessarily want her to stop telling her story. I respect it, and as a parent, we'll have to come to the right agreement on that. And however she wants to live her life or tell her story, that is for her to make that decision. Yeah. But as a mom, I just, frankly, the mama bear comes out, and I want her to show everybody how amazing she is, because she is doing so well. And I don't just mean, Stacy and I were talking before this podcast, she's doing really well in school. She got a lead role in a theatrical production at school this fall. Yeah, those are amazing. But what's amazing is my daughter, who understands right and wrong and people and empathy and kindness in a bigger and different way than she did 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. And her perspective on life and her perspective on, you just heard her say that many of us live with challenges every day, and we may or may not share them, and respecting and accepting people where they're at. Right. And so as a mom, that's what I'm most proud of. She's a tough cookie. And, in some ways, I never want to repeat the next 3 years. And I have 2 other little kids I'm trying to get up through middle school. And I pray that we don't experience the exact same thing. But the good thing is I do feel like I've had a lot of learning and tools in the toolkit. And we've got Anna to help as well, mm-hmm. who understands it in a much different, bigger way than I could possibly ever understand, because I've never lived with it to the degree that she lives with it.
There's people who think they know everything, but I had to live through it. I had to go. They put me in a room in the dark by myself while I was having a panic attack. They locked me in that room. They strapped me inside an ambulance by myself for a 30-minute car ride. I had never been in an ambulance before. And I was restrained. They had restrained me. I couldn't move. I had to get up every morning in a place that wasn't my house. I didn't know where I was. I had to stand on a ledge to look out the window.
Because it was frosted.
Because it was frosted, and they would say, you can't go up there right now. But I would stand up there and I'd look out at the highway. I remember the first night that I got there, I cried myself to sleep. And I woke up, and I thought it was all a dream. But I woke up, and I was still in the locked room.
Yeah. It's awful. I mean, this will be something, unfortunately, that she will probably live with for the rest of her life. And these are the moments where, again, I can't say that I'm not appreciative or ungrateful. I am. I'm very, she was kept safe. But what was the damage done to? And what is the trauma that she will forever live with? And I don't know. Again, it's hard, right? Every situation's unique and every situation's different. And I'm not going to ever say to someone that you shouldn't get help, right? You should. Yeah. And you should be grateful for that help. Yeah. But I just wish we understood anxiety and stress and even depression in a different way. I don't actually know what that way is. Mm-hmm. I don't actually know what the answer is. I just know that it needs to be different. And honestly, at the end of the day, I think it has a lot to do with age too, right? At age 9, 10, 11, you're not actually physically developed to be able to, from a brain perspective, right. to be mm-hmm. able to process all these big feelings and all the things in the world. You're literally not physically mature enough. You're not fully developed. And just watching Anna's, in the last 3 years, watching her mature and develop just with age and time and experience, that has just done wonders. So I think just understanding all the things that are impacting this and respecting each and every one of them versus, I don't know, did she need 2 or 3 MRIs? Probably not.
Right.
I don't know.
But even just for parents to ask more questions, you can advocate more.
Ask more questions. And actually, I would say, and again, there are varying degrees of mental health. So again, I would say anxiety, in my opinion, is on the lower scale, right? There's bipolar and other things going on. That's I don't understand them because I've never lived with them and never had a kid. So somebody listening to this will understand that better than I do and what that means. But from an anxiety's perspective, especially as adults, we've had the time and space and experience to know how to manage anxiety. We may be, a lot of us, I'm a Gen Xer, we didn't talk about it when we were kids, right? It was like, I don't know, pull up your pants, put on your boots, and deal with it.
Right, rub some dirt on it.
Rub some dirt on it, get it out there.
Yeah.
And many of us know, okay, if I'm feeling anxious or things aren't great, I need to go for a run. I need to go for a walk. I need to call a girlfriend. I need to spend some time with my husband. I need to take a bath. I need to calm down. I might need to eat differently. Mm-hmm. I maybe should join a yoga class. Maybe I should go ride a horse. Anything that's relaxing, go for a walk in the woods, right? And a lot of those things that I just mentioned actually became part of Anna's treatment plan. She ended up at Acres for Life, which was an amazing counseling organization that did all of their counseling in the pasture with horses because she couldn't go into a clinical setting. Hold on, honey. We were queuing up a nutritionist. I mean, just things that don't have to be doctors and medicine. And
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Just anyway, go ahead, honey. Did I go past it again?
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
I think it happened at the worst time because I was going into middle school, which is when you're trying to figure yourself out and when everything changes about you pretty much. Mm-hmm. And I think it was a lot for me because social media and friends and my body's changing and I feel different and I don't really know who I am. But at the same time, I'm getting my blood drawn 12 times in 1 year. I'm at a mental hospital and they're asking me to take like 18 medications at once.
There was a time she was taking over 20 different things. And I don't remember what they were, but some of them were natural, like a magnesium or but
I couldn't do it. We had to stop because I couldn't keep myself. I couldn't swallow them because it would feel like I'd want to throw up.
I can't remember. It's probably in the book, but at one time it was like 27 or 32 things that she was trying to swallow every morning or at some point throughout the day. And I remember as a parent going, wow, is this right? Like
right.
Her color was changing. She had bags under her eyes. Like she just didn't look healthy. I just wish we could have had the conversation differently and been a little more confident with it all earlier. And I think that maybe our experience could have looked a little different. One of the reasons we started this store, we haven't really talked about that yet, but well, how about I just quickly share? So we started this store 3 years ago, 3 years ago when Anna came home from one of her hospital stays. I gave notice to my career. I simply couldn't manage a job and being available for Anna at that time. And we started La Via Belle. So I still remember the night. Anna was in and out of hospitals for 5 months. And I think this was the last hospital stay or one of the last, and I was sitting next to her watching her sleep. And again, our life had just been rocked. And I remember Googling, how do you make sense? How do you find joy? How do you find beauty? And found the French saying, La Vie est belle, which means life is beautiful. The expression means choose your own path to happiness and inspire others. And I really liked it. Now, do I wish I had done a lot more research before I named a business after it? Yes. For anybody out there, please do not start your business with a French name. No one will be able to say it or remember it or spell it.
It was like a La
Vie. Yeah. Anyway.
V-O.
And also Lancôme has a perfume, La Vie est belle, so the entire SEO Google world is tied up with them. So anyway, but it was a meaningful business name for me, and I started a business that night, meaning my background is interior design and retail with Target and West Elm. And it was the only thing that I knew how to do. Now, the funny thing is I am probably the most tech-challenged person I've ever met in my life. And when I said I started the business that night, I think I registered the name and secured a domain for my website. And so I did. I built a website and started a business selling some product and specifically gifts. And we give a percentage of our net profits and time to advocate and or support youth mental health initiatives. When I had this website and I had just started this business, I was also blogging. And that's when and really journaling, right? Every week I would write down what was my most significant takeaway or learning or experience, and did that for almost a year. And somebody approached me and suggested I share this story for others. And that's how the book came about, Finding Us. But yeah, so the store started almost 3 years ago now, 2.5, almost 3 years ago. 2 years at home with me, and then we just opened this little brick and mortar in Lake Elmo last October 8th. So what is it today?
Today's October 8th. Happy anniversary.
Thank you. I'm like, what is it today? Yeah, the little brick and mortar is 1 year old. But when I started La Via Belle, should it be a nonprofit? Should it be a for-profit? Why? Honestly, it's a for-profit because I didn't want a board and I wanted to be able to steer the business or steer what it might be. Honestly, I've loved the little store for what it is because a lot of people come in to shop and a lot of people come in to talk. And I think sometimes just by sharing our story or hearing theirs, we're talking, right? Mm-hmm. We're sharing stories and we're talking. I don't know the highest and best way. I simply have my experience just as they do. But a lot of people do know our story and they'll come in and they'll want to share theirs and again, none of us are necessarily sharing advice because it's our experience, it's our journey, and each of them is going to be unique. But I think sometimes it's about not feeling so lonely. But it is interesting too. Many of us are on a similar journey in that the learning or comfort within the journey, I see it, right? First it happens and it's very hard to accept. And we go through all this testing and we go through this level of acceptance. And then once we finally accept it, treatment can begin. And anyway, but I understand it. I've been there. We have conversations. I don't know. I'm just thankful for everyone who wants to come in and share.
You've built a different life, something that 5 years ago you wouldn't have thought of. And now, can you imagine not having it?
No, I'm really grateful. I miss my corporate paycheck. I'm not going to lie. And I tell people sometimes our experience with Anna, as much as I never want to repeat it or ever would want my daughter to have lived it, it is a bit of a gift in that taking off the golden handcuffs from a corporate career into small business owner is a really hard thing to do. Did you want to comment?
I also think it made me more, how do I put this? More like, if I see someone struggling, I don't look at them and laugh. I would go over and help them or tell someone to go help them.
You're talking about your experience?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm more aware, I think, than most people.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. I think starting the store was a bit of a gift from our experience because taking off those golden handcuffs are really hard. And naturally with COVID, hours being cut, then Anna's mental health hours started decreasing, things started going away, lifestyle started changing. So by the time we actually pulled the lever, the change was not so significant. Now, when I say that, though, I just mean that I was able to do it. It's very hard to change your lifestyle, to change the path of your life. It's very hard. And honestly, Tom and I started this probably 5 years ago because we used to live in St. Louis Park. And we did. I was a vice president and he was a director, and we had just remodeled a house in St. Louis Park, and we had housekeeping and we had nannies. I mean, but I wasn't living my life. I was paying for others to manage and take care of my life and my children. And I wasn't very comfortable with that. And we had made a decision in 2018 to change our life and reprioritize some things. And we eventually moved out to Lake Elmo and we simplified our finances. But then COVID happened, and some of that transition happened faster than maybe we were ready for. But it did force us to continue moving forward in that same direction, and I'll be forever grateful for that. So we are here today as small business owners. It's not easy. It is certainly not for the faint of heart. But I am grateful, and I do tell people every day when they walk in the door, I truly do feel like I'm living a Hallmark movie because it is charming and it is fun. I don't think I've had one person walk through my door that I haven't adored. So it's just been so lovely.
Share with everybody your website and your social media, because if you can't make it to Lake Elmo,
oh boy, what is my social media? Hold on.
You can shop online.
I'm just going to give you the website, because on the website you also find the social media, and
sure,
the website's easiest probably anyway. So the website's shoplavie.co. So shoplavie.co. So shoplavie.co. And we are on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
Okay. And you can shop online.
You can shop online. And
Not everything is on, right?
Not everything,
store,
but I would say 80% of it.
Okay.
So we have some clothes in the store that are not online and some jewelry that's not online, but generally everything else. So that has also been an interesting learning in that by having a website and a brick and mortar, you really feel like you have two stores. Because everything that comes in here, not only do we have to get it ready to be displayed at the store and inventoried and stickered and all the things, but we also build it on the website. So I gratefully have, between my daughter and two other high school girls, a fabulous team now that can pretty much run the store without me. But generally, they take care of the website.
Okay. Well, let's get into some fun stuff and talk about baking, because you guys have two binders, two cookbooks in front of you.
We have more at home.
You have more. But like I said in the introduction, Kristin, you said that your mom bakes, her mom baked, and you like to bake, and Anna bakes, and so all of this family dynamic is in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. And so I just wanted to hear a little bit about that and have you share some recipes, because that's what's fun about, well, this podcast. I have taken away, I think 2 weeks ago when I did one with Callie Williams, she shared her grandma's coffee cake for it has crushed graham crackers in it. So just adds this element of flavor. Huh. Anyway, so now that one has actually replaced the one that I've always used for just a regular yellow coffee cake. And unfortunately, her grandma died like 2 weeks after we recorded it, and so her funeral was like last week, and it's so sad. But I love that recipe now is shared with other people, and her legacy can kind of live on through food and recipes. So I just want to hear about your baking story and these cookbooks that you
I'll start, and then Anna, I think you should start. Do you want to share about Honeybee Bakery? Okay, hold on. Yes, you should.
No, there's no.
Anyway, so what we have in front of us are two cookbooks titled Eileen Towards Cooking, and Eileen is E-I-L-E-E-N, which is my grandmother's name, Grandma Eileen. And my mom, Lynn, wrote these cookbooks, and they're accumulative, I guess, all the recipes in our Johnson family, the Johnson family, that have meant something to my mom's sisters, her brother, my grandma, etc. So, and she's written two versions. And anyway, so these are really meaningful to me for lots of reasons, right? First of all, there are family recipes in it. These are the recipes I've grown up on. Literally. I'm like, gosh, have we had anything outside of these cookbooks? It's been fun for me to teach my children these recipes. I grew up with a mom that I had at 5:30 after I had basketball practice or tennis or whatever it was in high school, a home cooked meal every night with a fresh dessert out of the oven.
Wow.
That's a little bit dangerous. So expectation for our family, not expectation, but we are a dessert family, and specifically chocolate. And so just about every night we have something. What, honey, go ahead.
Well, every time we go over to Grandma and Grandpa's house, I look forward to it because the food is so good there.
Love for my mom is definitely through food. Even to this day, at almost 50, my mom still will typically bring the meals and the desserts if she comes to my house. So here I am hosting my mother and my father, and yet she still
it's her dinner.
Brings the food. And God bless her, good job, because she knows I don't cook. I bake, but I don't cook. So if she wants a good meal, she better bring it. No, she's just so lovely and generous with all of that. And I kind of love that traditional, lovely mentality around if you're struggling or sick or you need support. It's my mom will just start cooking and baking. I have a girlfriend right now that has breast cancer, and my mom already has meals in the freezer for her. You know, and I just love that. And I feel like it's not as common with some of the younger generations, and I hope that I can continue that when I have some time to think more about it, and I hope Anna might someday. And
yeah, I bake a lot because of Grandma.
She does.
I do.
I think we had you baking when you were like 2.
I was 2. I was sitting on the counter. Goodness. Yeah, I would sit on the counter, and she'd be like, okay, can you pour this in? I'd be like, yep. And I would sit there, and I'd watch it in the oven bake. But I bake a lot now because it's like the one thing I do. That's the thing I do when I need to clear my mind. I just sit, and I watch my show, and I bake. and I don't want anyone else baking with me, and I bake by myself. And whenever I always bake a recipe from here, and I think of Grandma when I bake them, because she's the one who taught me how to bake them.
And Anna, honestly, today is a phenomenal baker. I think she's probably better than me now. There's been times where she's done homemade rolls and types of things with yeast and a variety of things, and things I've never made. Like she may find a recipe somewhere, and they come in, and I'm like, "How did you know how to do that?" Like so, it's really fun for me. If I need any sort of desserts for the store, any type of that thing, I often ask Anna because she's just so good. Friday night we had a Hocus Pocus movie night in the store, and Anna came with one of the bars that we make. They're called what are they? Chocolate chip bars.
We bake those so much.
I know. It's the funniest thing. These things are the simplest thing. They're shortbread. They're a shortbread with bar with chocolate chips.
They're so good,
But so they're so simple. They're so easy to make. They don't actually have eggs. So you can eat the dough, which we do a lot of. I mean, we might eat the dough otherwise, but we won't tell anyone. Anyway.
It's probably bad.
It's really bad. Funny thing is, I remember when I was pregnant, you're not supposed to do all those things, but I could make the shortbread bars with the chocolate chips and eat that dough because it didn't have egg in it.
Yeah. Those are good too.
But anyway, so these bars are so good. They're so simple, and I think for me, they are, though. If somebody said, pick a recipe that somehow reflects your family or what you recall from childhood or growing up or whatever, that would be the recipe. Now, the recipe calls for a teaspoon of vanilla, and we use almond extract instead. And oh my gosh, it's so good.
I forgot to do that.
You did? They were so good. What did you use?
I used vanilla.
Oh, they're good. So I just think it's cute. Like, again, we had this movie night at the store on Friday night. She did not have much time because she had theater practice till like 4:30. And yet by 6:30 or so, she comes in with some cookies and the chocolate chip bars.
Girl,
we didn't have chocolate chips either. I had to break apart send my sweet chocolate while my friend was there. I was baking these with my friend.
You improvised. Good job.
So anyway, it's funny. It's fun. And then we bring these bars into these events because they are super easy and fast to make. So that's how we seem to be rolling in our family right now. And we bring them in often for store events. And I can have other things there. Special K bars, brownies, cookies, whatever it is. And it's always these little shortbread bars with the chocolate chips. Everybody's like, wow. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's flour, it's sugar.
I know, it's butter, flour, sugar, chocolate chips. That's pretty much it.
But some of those classic ones are just the best. That's why I love community cookbooks.
Yeah.
You know, those are the kinds of recipes that are in there. There's like 6 ingredients and there's like 4 sentences that tell you how to make it, and then you're done.
You're done. You don't have to
I don't
overthink.
want some whole full page thing.
Tell them about turtle cake.
I love turtle cake, especially when Grandma makes it. It's German chocolate cake with caramel in the middle and chocolate chips. I had that for my birthday last year, but I like it most when it's reheated. I think that's when it tastes the best.
So this cake is the easiest thing to make also. You buy a box of German chocolate cake mix, and you put half of it on the bottom of the pan, and then you melt Kraft caramels with butter and evaporated milk, and you spread that then in the middle of the cake with a bunch of chocolate chips. So you bake the cake for 10 minutes, put the caramel on the chocolate chips, put the rest of the cake on the top, bake it for another 10-15 minutes. But I think the caramel just keeps the cake really moist.
And you warm them up?
Yeah, you reheat it.
Make them warm and gooey? Duh.
Oh, they're so good. I think everything's good when you reheat it.
At our family, I grew up with homemade cookies all the time. But one thing my mom did that the one thing. So I grew up with homemade cookies. That's a blessing. And then the microwave happened. And now you can put the cookies in the microwave and heat them up, right? So they felt like they were out of the oven. That was a big deal. I remember that. But now we've gone even further in our house where we just mix up the cookie dough and put it in our fridge. So every night when while we're cooking our meal for dinner, we also put some cookies in the oven. So our family is extremely spoiled with fresh cookies out of the oven almost every other night.
Oh my gosh.
So that is something we do, and we have a fabulous chocolate chip cookie recipe. I would say my thing, I don't know what you would say your thing is, but my thing is I feel like I am a cookie connoisseur. Like I'm a cookie snob. And specifically chocolate chip. Like I don't know what it is, but we have a fantastic chocolate chip cookie recipe right now that I am just loving, but I am very particular. And yeah, so it's funny when we go to the state fair here in Minnesota, everyone is, the cookies, what is it, Martha's
or
right.
something. Mm-hmm.
Which they're good, don't get me wrong. But I don't even crave to go there anymore because I'm like, guys, we have cookie dough in the fridge. Let's just go home and make.
I know there's kids at school and they're like, those cookies are so good. And I'm like, I have so many recipes of cookies at home that they just don't. Our recipes are so much better. Like it's
okay, Martha Cookies, we love you. You're very good. It's anyway.
But our cookies are so good.
And isn't it crazy that there's a million different ways or flavors or textures of chocolate chip cookies? Just one kind of cookie can be different in so many ways.
Yeah, you like the regular, but I love the oatmeal chocolate chip cookies and the cinnamon chocolate chip cookies.
Anna makes this. We have a recipe for a cinnamon chocolate dough chocolate chip cookie, and she loves making those.
It's so good.
The other thing that we love, and actually we had them today, is my husband and I both have 2 different caramel roll recipes from our great grandmothers.
Okay.
And so I made. So it's interesting, like what Anna said, for baking is a release of stress as well for me, or a comfortable moment for me. Again, history with my mom and my grandma. I don't get to do it as much as I would love to, but usually on Sunday morning I actually crave it. So I know last Sunday we made together actually the caramel rolls. And then we had some of them today.
I like Dad's.
And then everybody likes Dad's.
I hate to admit it too.
So what's interesting is Dad's use the loaves of dough.
The bread dough? Mm-hmm.
So it's already made, right? You know,
it's the bread dough or the cinnamon roll dough?
The bread dough that you'd get in the freezer.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. So he's using the RHODES, you know, that. So his is cheating. Where mine is literally yeast and water,
it's so good.
I know it is good.
So good.
But anyway, so
it's like a competition, huh?
Well, it's interesting that both recipes are very different, and yet his is from his great grandmother and mine is from mine.
So good.
It's so good. I'm trying to think what else are big ones in our family. So those caramel rolls, I grew up with every Christmas morning, every Easter morning, and we kind of tend to do it at our house, and it's just a fight over whose recipe we're using.
Yellow cake.
We have a yellow cake mix we use a lot.
And then you mix cinnamon sugar and cocoa powder and chocolate chips all together, and you put it on top of the yellow cake.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's another easy one. It's a yellow cake mix, which is cheating. I get it in the baking world. But the recipe itself that I have in the cookbook from my mother and my great grandmother is not a yellow cake mix. It is. No, it's not. No. Oh, it has it in there, but you add other things. Trust me.
Yeah, you add other things, but it does have the yellow package.
You're right.
Cake
we're kind of cheating at our house, and we just use the yellow cake, and that's it.
Have you ever tried it? The whole recipe? Have you ever? Is it good?
Yeah.
Probably not any different.
It just takes. It's not significantly different enough that Wait,
let me see.
Yeah.
You guys.
Anyway.
A lot of my recipes start with like a yellow cake mix or even a chocolate cake mix, like that German chocolate, or what's the people call the volcano cake, or what's that one where you make a chocolate cake, like a German cake from a box,
and lava cake,
and then poke the holes in it when you take it out of the oven, and pour a whole can of sweetened condensed milk, and then a whole jar of caramel ice cream topping.
I don't think I've had these things, but they sound amazing.
You put whipped cream on it and sprinkle with toffee chips, and then put it in the refrigerator, so then it gets cold, and it's amazing. My recipe for it actually is called Better Than Sex Cake.
I have heard that cake title before.
Yeah. So one of my student employees gave me that recipe once, and that's the one that I've made ever since. And it starts with the box cake mix.
I know. Well, I think back when our grandmothers were cooking, right? I don't know if there was as many box cakes, right?
No.
So I'm all for cheating there if I can.
And the boxes were bigger, so more ounces. Things have shrunk so much in size that recipes that I have say like an 18-ounce box, cake mix or whatever. Well, now you go and they're like 15. And so I've had to reduce butter on some things because it's getting too greasy because packages, the sizes are shrinking.
Oh. Yeah, that's interesting. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, we have a lot of we've got homemade spaghettis and chilies and I don't know.
So good.
We're very lucky.
Right. Well, those cookbooks that you have in front of you, I mean, that's pretty amazing. Will you share some of the recipes like with me, send them to me so I can share with people, or are they pretty private and secret?
You can't have them.
Well, some people will share and some people don't, and I completely respect that.
No,
so
they're really good.
Well, you can just take a picture of them and send them to me, and I can share.
You should talk to her about Honeybee.
Yeah.
I haven't even.
She's stumbling a little bit because she started Honeybee a year ago, 2 years ago. But she's getting so busy with school, it's harder to keep up with it. But I just think the story and why you did it is just so amazing. Well, okay, so I'll start then.
I think I started it because I was bored. We were at a...
I know, but you started it because you love baking, and it reminds you of your grandmother.
Yes.
So that when you needed something for your head and your heart...
and so I started doing that for other people.
So I think back in especially 8th grade... Oh, no, it was probably 7th grade. It was 7th grade. She was no longer able to go to school. Do you want me to tell the story or not?
You tell it better.
Of WBB?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we'll tell the story. So Anna didn't go to 6th grade because of her anxiety and her panic. And then 7th grade, and literally at that point, everybody was like, forget it. Let's just skip 6th grade. So we didn't even attempt school. And then 7th grade, we got her back in school, but not really. I mean, she was there physically, but she wasn't there mentally and emotionally. And it was still such a trauma situation for her that she was in and out of class about every other hour, sometimes in a trauma situation. I'll leave it at that. About 4 or 5 weeks were left of school, and we just pulled her out. We said, we're done. This isn't healthy for her, and it's not healthy for Tom and I, so we pulled her out. And she ended up at a Women's Business Bridge meeting with me. We have a monthly meeting here in the St. Croix Valley for female business owners. And she wasn't in school, and a lot of people there knew our story, knew our store, and so I brought her. And Anna is very courageous and has no fear. And we are in a banquet room of 100+ women business owners, who for some could be somewhat intimidating. And Anna ends up on the other side of the room from me because Ashley had her baby. And she's over there holding the baby and a variety of things. And what Anna didn't realize is that one of the parts of this hour or two that we spend together is everybody gets 15 to 30 seconds to introduce themselves and their business or any other promotion they might be having. So anyway, we go through this whole room, and Anna's the last person to get the microphone. And she stands up on the other side of the room, and I'm not even there to help support, coach, or anything. I'm on the other side. And she goes, hi, my name is Anna Rehkamp. I'm Kristin's daughter, and I'm starting Honeybee Bakery. And everyone sitting next to me said, are you starting a bakery? And I said, I guess we might be. So, but what I'm so proud of my daughter is she said it at that moment, but she did it. She did it. She went and designed herself some business cards we got printed. I can show you. And she started an Instagram page, and I just so proud of her. And then she sat down with her grandmother and her grandfather and kind of put together some operations, like a little notebook of sorts, I think.
It kind of stopped because I went back to school and started doing other things, but people were ordering off of it. And
I wouldn't call it stopped. It's there. You just don't have the time right now.
I think if I really put in a lot of effort on my social media page, I could bring more awareness to it.
I personally think as a business owner, especially in this community, where a lot of people have been lovely to us and our family, and how well she bakes, she could do very well.
Sure.
It's just a matter of time and space to do it. But she is a very good baker and the sweetest thing. And then Grandma Lynn bought her all these like bee tissue papers and bee boxes and all these things. So
I had a bin of things.
You still do, don't you?
Yeah, downstairs. We had to
expand from a bin into a dresser. But if Anna were to bake for anyone, it shows up in your typical white bakery box.
Oh, yeah.
But it has Honeybee tissue paper. It comes branded. I mean, it's pretty impressive, actually, for at the time was like a 12-year-old, now 14-year-old. But
it has the tissue paper inside, usually a sticker on it, and then it's wrapped with, like, twine.
One of these days, you'll take over the cinnamon rolls. That way you just make your dad's, because you know you like that one better.
I'm sorry. From now on,
that's totally cheating. That's cheating. You cannot take the frozen bread and make the rolls. That's cheating.
No, but it's so good. I think when I'm older, I'm going to be making... It's easier for me, too.
No, they are good. I'm teasing. They're good.
Yeah. Did we talk about kind of everything we feel like we wanted to share with everybody today? Do you want to...
I think if I could leave any comment, it would just be that with any family or individual, seek to understand versus lead with perception or shame. I think that's the one thing I've walked away in the last 3 years. The greatest gift or greatest learning probably for me has been, I look at people differently, where maybe I would have been a little too quick to judge prior. But understanding that there's probably an additional story, right? Or an additional thing. Anna was kind of alluding to it earlier, but I remember when Anna's anxiety was pretty high, we did end up at the state fair during this time when she was a 6th or 7th grader. And I remember just as parents, right, sometimes we go through the motions and it's just run, keep track of the kids, don't lose a child in the pig barn, all the things, right? And we were running and I remember being like, guys, come on, where are you, da. And kind of probably getting a little like, Anna, come on. And I turned around and Anna was helping somebody in a wheelchair try and get through a crowded door. And the sad thing is I didn't even see that person, yet I walked right past them. And so that's something that I'm trying to be better about leading with every day. And yet Anna's probably natural at it.
Yeah, I remember you told that story to people and I was like, that happened? Like, it was just something natural for me to do. I didn't think twice about it. And you were talking about it like it was a big deal.
It was a big deal, especially for a young girl. It was a big deal. It was
for anybody.
I guess it was a big deal for me because I recognized that I wasn't doing it well.
Yeah, that's just something I would do.
So,
is that your superpower? I've read a little bit about your superpower. Do you want to talk about that?
I don't think I have a superpower.
You do have a superpower.
I think your mom thinks you do.
I don't think
Sounds
I have
to
a
me like
superpower.
you do.
I think she does. I think anyone who is an empath, anyone who is leading with their heart and feeling in a bigger way, I think, again, so many of us are running around so busy. We've got a checklist. We've got goals. We've got calendars. We've got meetings. But anyone who is stopping to recognize and feel and appreciate and be kind and help others, that's a superpower.
That's something I think I found going through it all that I can appreciate from it. And it made me be able to stop sometimes and just think. Like, I don't know, there's so much people in this world who are having such a worse time than me, and I'm really appreciative of that. But also, I can help people when they need help in ways that people couldn't help me.
That's true.
And that'll carry you through life. You'll always be like that.
See, look at that. You'll be a better mom than me.
Mom!
Thank you both for joining me today.
And there's a customer.
And now we have a customer at the door and the store is closed. So we're going to wrap it up and say goodbye.
Bye. Thank you, Stacy. Bye-bye.
This was really a special story, and I'm glad that you listened. If you're in the Lake Elmo area, stop at Livia Bell, where you can purchase Kristin's book, and you might get sidetracked because she has hundreds of beautiful boutique items in there, like clothing and jewelry. She has really good smelling candles, handmade soaps. Right now it's decorated for Christmas, so there's tons of holiday decor and unique gifts in there. I have a few things from her shop, but you can also shop on her website, shoplevie.co. It really is a boutique with a heart. You can also find them on social media. Instagram is Livia Bell Gift Shop. Facebook and LinkedIn are both Livia Bell. And I've linked to those in the show notes, along with Anna's Honeybee Bakery, which is on Instagram. It's at honey_bee_bakery_. Again, I linked those in the show notes, but you can go find Anna and some special treats there. Kristin and Anna, thank you for sharing your hearts and opening our eyes. Anna, your mom is right. You lead with your heart. You're brave and strong, and you have inspired us all today. I'm Stacy Mergenthal. Sweet wishes.